So your album was songs that you had written over time and never released to anybody?
Yeah, it actually was a group of songs that I picked out because I thought they sort of told a story, and there's about a 13-year span from the first song to the last song, and there's many more songs that I didn't choose to release.
Wow, so this is 13 years in the making, you said? Wow.
Yes, the first song on the record, it is chronological. It was about 13 years old when I put the record out. Not 15 now.
That's amazing to hear. I feel like as bass players, sometimes it can be, for whatever reason, a little bit difficult to be creative in that way. Did you find any of that to be difficult?
Yeah, I mean, I've never felt like a really prolific songwriter like some people I know, but it's always been, but I've always had this urge to sort of express myself, and so I've used it in that way. Like I wanted to, I'd have strong feelings, and I would write. Sorry, that's my one of my dogs.
Okay.
I would have these strong emotions that I'd want to express, so I would write, almost journal style or poetry, or whatever words, and also playing my bass, there would be this need to express myself, and that helped. So over time, it got a little more honed. This thing about me taking strong feelings I had and using the bass and my voice as an outlet for those feelings. And it's taken a long time, it feels like, but I feel like in a way it just gets better and better in my ability to translate the feelings into music.
Um, will there be a second Kira album?
There's not definitely no plans. It's a strange time to release music. You probably know this. I mean, it's very hard to get anyone to really care about anything that you're doing. A lot of people are into watching rehashes of bands that have been around for many years, and they just want to go see the same bands play that they saw before. It's very hard to sort of get to the audience, and maybe some of that is my age too. It's like I'm not somebody who believes there isn't great music out there, but I don't know how to necessarily connect my music to the people who are interested in great music, so I'll always make music. I'll always be a bass player. I've been a bass player longer than I've been a woman, so it's me. It's just I don't know necessarily that I'll try to get anybody else to care about that music.
Um, yeah, I'm not so sure that it's a age thing. I feel like with music in general, like you said, it's like a really strange time where, I kind of like where I'm outside and I listen to the stuff that I hear people playing in their cars, and a lot of people just seem to be into like rap music or pop music mostly. And I also think that there's a element of people kind of being a little bit self-absorbed in a way where they're not more so worried about what other people are doing. They're more so worried about themselves.
Well, there's also so many choices, I mean, and people don't, I'm not sure if people are looking, in a search. Maybe you're right, they're being selfish, but maybe they're just not on a search to find great music. There's so many choices, and you don't have to, people don't think they have to pay for music, and they just don't want to go out and dig through and find cool stuff. It used to be somewhat of a, listening to music was a little bit more of an active, participation kind of event. And now it's just, you just don't work. People don't work at it. They don't work to connect to their music necessarily. They just listen to what, is easily available or what someone tells them to listen to. I don't know. It's like I said, I don't at all believe there isn't great music to listen to. There is, but it's hard for me to find great music. I have to ask generally younger people and people who are out there and people who go to gigs, what is good, what's happening, who's doing cool stuff. I have to be active in that, and I'm not sure everybody is.
How do you feel about the punk scene today?
Well, punk is has become such a strange thing, right? Because to start with, I always thought, the idea behind punk rock was to be anti what was happening. It was against society and disco and the hippies and what was going on at the time, right? So, and to my mind, it was so much about nonconformity. But then when it becomes this thing, now it's got rules, and people think, well, it's really fast music, or it's really loud music, or you have to yell and scream, or I think it's still about nonconformity. To me, Dose is a very punk rock band. It's not like anything else. It is. Kira's stuff is very weird and quiet, and leaves spaces and makes you feel stuff. And a lot of people would say, well, that's not punk rock. Punk rock sounds like this other thing. Well, where did the rules get written, and who made them?
The punk rock police. That's
Yeah, right. So yeah, what punk? Is it the people who have followed some set of rules and think that they know what punk rock is? Then no, I don't think there's anything good going on when you're trying to just be something, some idea of something that you don't know about, right? I think it's really cool if people are doing new, unique things and not conforming to whatever they think was happening, starting their own bands and writing their own stuff, and there's a lot of it, like I said, that's out there, but I don't know if it's called punk rock by people.
Are there any punk rock bands that you listen to today?
I wouldn't say there are any new bands I listen to that I would label punk rock. Again, because I don't know what that is. That isn't a word I throw around much anymore, except in interviews. But like I said, I tend to reach out to my nephew and people who are younger than me and asking them what's cool. That over the years they've turned me on to some of the music that I listen to now. Sometimes I listen to old music now. It's okay to have your standard library of stuff you love to listen to when you were growing up, the things that mattered to you. And I have those things. I listen to classical music. I listen to Latin music. I listen to Hispanic radio. I listen to salsa. Sometimes I listen to the Germs from punk rock days. Sometimes, I'm very much a mood listener. What's the mood that I'm in, and pick music based on that. Or if I'm going to work out, what do I want to listen to help me get going?
So, what sparked the idea to put together the group Dose?
Well, I was dating Mike many years ago, and that was actually what happened. Was that D. Boone died. He was killed in a car crash. There was a band called Minutemen that Mike suddenly didn't have anymore, and I came back from a Christmas visit with my mom, and Mike was in a really bad place, and so I just started trying to get him to play. I just wanted him to pick up his bass and keep playing. I was afraid he would quit, because D. Boone had been such an important part of his musical life. So I had been making these bedtime stories with two basses, where I would record some bedtime story like, Dr. Seuss or something, and then I would record two bass lines. So I showed him some of that stuff, and I got him to just sort of play. Actually, some of the first songs on the first Dose records are from those story tapes. I were written by me trying to work on them, and then we jam a little, and so it was really about just kind of getting him to play. And I think that the thing that made it so clear to us that we didn't want anybody else in the band was our experience in Minute Flag, where we tried to jam with a Black Flag and Minutemen together, and man, there was just no room. There was no room for me to do anything. I felt like, it was just like with Mike playing and with guitar players and stuff, it's like there's no room. And we were like so clear that we just can't have anybody else if we're going to have space to have the two basses be able to sort of do whatever they wanted. It was a simple matter of sound space, and that we thought we could fill it up with the two basses, and we didn't need other instruments. So that's kind of how it came about.
What are the chances of there being a fourth Dose album?
Well, there's actually are four, depending on how you count. I mean, there was an EP, uh, there was a full record, and then there was an EP, and then there was Justamente Trace, and then there was Numero Cuatro. So there were four, to my way of thinking. But look, Dose hasn't broken up. It's just kind of like the virtual bands. Things, life happens and gets in the way. Mike's super busy. I'm super busy. And for a while now, it's just been us doing kind of other projects and other things, and so nothing has stopped that possibility, but also, life is busy. Big surprise, right?
Understandable. So what kind of bass are you playing right now? Do
That's
you
a
have
good
one that you
question.
like the most?
Yeah, I actually, Mike, when we were doing those jazz festivals in Canada, I was still playing my Rickenbackers, and I swear, like we did 4 nights in a row, 2 sets a night, and like by the third night, my pinky on my left hand just didn't want to work anymore, and he had already gone to a shorter scale bass, playing a Gibson, and I was still playing this long scale bass, and he was like, you got to change bases. So he actually contacted a guy who built a custom bass for me. It's a imitation of a Rickenbacker. It's a 3/4 scale size. The body type, though, and the design with the neck going through the body is like a Rickenbacker. Because Mike thinks that the tuning pegs being on the top and bottom on the Rickenbacker is stupid, he made the headstock look like a Telecaster. So it's a very unique looking bass because it kind of looks like a Telecaster headstock, but the body is very much a Rickenbacker, and it's small scale, and he made it electric blue, and it's beautiful, and it's also the best sounding bass I've ever heard. So that's my go-to right now. It got stolen once
Yeah, I was
years ago.
gonna ask you about that.
Yeah,
I read on Talk
it got
Beats that it was stolen.
yeah, it got stolen from my house along with a bunch of other stuff, and I had just kind of given up, but my boss at the time took a picture of it and got this guy to send it around to guitar centers and different places where it might show up, and by some miracle, 10 days later I got the bass back. But while that was happening, Mike knew I was in a really bad way, and so he had another one started, and so now I have a blonde one that is built in the similar way, a 3/4 scale with the same look. But it's funny, every guitar sounds different, right? So these guitars, even though they were built the same way, they sound totally different.
So, when your bass was stolen, how long was it missing?
10 days.
That's
Crazy. I
crazy.
know. It was absolutely crazy. The guy showed up at a guitar center, and the guy who recognized it, had seen a picture. He was transferred for one day to that guitar center. He had seen a picture at another guitar center. This picture had shown up, and it is a very unique looking guitar. And he just said to the guy, "Yeah, I'm going to have to take a picture of your driver's license because that's what you have to do when you sell a guitar at Guitar Center. It's a big chain, right?" Um, and the guy just panicked, and he left his license and the bass and took off. So he knew he got the vibe, and I get a call from the Northridge police station, and I show up there, and the guy walks out with the bass, and he looks at my face, and he says, usually I look for proof of ownership, but it's just written all over your face. I was practically crying, right? And he could see just by the look on my face what it meant to me that he is holding my bass guitar. So that's
Um,
pretty much.
did you find out anything about the person who stole it from you?
Well, he showed me the driver's license and said, "Do you recognize this person?" And I said, "No." And that was kind of that. I mean, he said the most we could get him for, even if we got him, was possession of stolen property. We can't prove that he was in your house. It's not like the TV shows. They, get good fingerprints that they can then match to the guy or anything, you know. So nothing really ever came about it. I always felt like I kind of knew what had happened because we'd had some vendors in our house doing a repair job. So I felt like sort of maybe they'd scoped out the place, how they might break in, but I don't know. We have a better alarm system now.
Um, do you have any favorite bass players?
Well, it's like I said, I don't. I've never really. The way I look at bass guitarists, like being the best bass player is kind of like not being the one that stands out, but being the guy who's perfect for the band. Like Paul McCartney is perfect for that band. Or like ZZ Top. You want to not stand out. You just want to play what's perfect for that band. Geezer Butler in Sabbath, right? These aren't fancy pants bass players. The other big bass players that affect me, and musicians that affect me are the ones I play with. So Mike has had a huge influence on my playing and on my songwriting, so I guess I would have to say put him in that class. But like I said, it's definitely not about them being proficient at playing a bunch of notes or being fancy pants. It's definitely more interesting to me if they're subtly making the band better without calling attention to themselves.
I never really heard you fully explain this situation, but I guess back in the day, when you started playing for Black Flag, some girl tried to break your hand.
Yeah. Okay. So here's this. What my hand story about my hand was that when I was in Black Flag, first week I was playing with them, I hurt my right hand, which is why I always say bass players play left-handed if you're left-handed. My right hand is my weaker hand, and when you're trying to play rock music with a drummer, you now have your weak hand on your plucking side, which is not the best place for your weaker hand. And so I tore some tendons, and I just joined this, I just joined this, male rock band. I didn't feel like I could not play. So anyway, my hand always hurt. It always hurt when I was in Black Flag. It was just always not right. It's never been right since. So, but the incident was we were playing an instrumental gig, and this woman caught me in the bathroom and just beat the crap out of me. I mean, she was pounding my head on the bathroom floor. And at one point, she grabs my right hand and bends it all the way back, which is what made me realize that it must have been an inside job. Someone must have told this woman that my hand was always hurt. It was like she was trying to make me not be able to play, right? But of course, I still played 10 minutes later. And it turned out that there was sort of an inside job. The guitar player's Greg's girlfriend had gotten this woman to attack me in the bathroom. So
It was somebody in the band.
It was Greg's girlfriend who had sicked this large woman on me in the bathroom. Yeah.
Why though? Like for what?
Well,
malicious.
Yeah. I mean, I had my theories, but what Greg decided to do was stick the both of us in the room, and so he stuck the girlfriend in a room, who then said something about that I had stolen someone's guitar, which I hadn't done, and they were accusing me of having done that. I don't think that was really. I think she just look. I learned a lot over the years. I think that you have to. There's political things between women. I never really befriended her, right? And I was spending a lot of time with her boyfriend, and I think that there's I'm not a very girly girl person, right? So I didn't connect with her, and maybe she thought that I thought I was better than her or something. I don't know, but there was clearly some kind of more major tension between the two of us, and that because the story about me stealing a guitar didn't make any sense, but that was what she used as an excuse.
Wow,
Girls are weird. You know, girls can be really mean. The whole mean girls thing is real. It's not all women, but some women just really struggle with other women. And I've learned over the years that you have to be a little more conscious about things like that, and not allow yourself to your own, like, sort of I was caught up in my own stuff. I was in school, I was trying to be in Black Flag, like I was just me, right? And she must have felt that I somehow thought I was hot shit, which wasn't what was going on, but it might have felt like that to her. I didn't bother to connect to her at all or befriend her, and maybe that, and that's not good form. Like, we have to connect with each other and recognize when someone's feeling slighted, right? That's a social obligation we have, is to not be in a group of people and be rude to other people, even accidentally, right? So it was a good learning curve thing for me to realize that it's easy to create tension without purposely doing anything. You have to explicitly avoid those things by doing some work, So, lesson learned.
Yeah, well, that was a very philosophical answer right there. A lot of people could learn a whole lot of things from what you just said. Where can we find you on social media? You have social
Well,
media.
I have a Facebook page. That's how we found each other. I pretty much don't do, I just never got into Instagram or TikTok or that stuff. That's probably why nobody buys my records. I don't know. But, I'm pretty much just done Facebook because it was easy and it's been around. But that's where you can find me. And Kitten Robot Records does some interesting, cool bands and put out my record. So shout out to Kitten Robot.
And also, where can people find your music if they want to purchase a hard copy or a download?
So Kira, if you just search for Kira, it can be hard on the internet because there's a lot of Kiras. But if you say Kira Kitten Robot Records, the record is called Kira. So the solo record can be found by saying Kira Kitten Robot Records. That's also where you can find the video, The Ghost. There's a video also for Avoiding. And the one we discussed, number 8 of Dose, is out there for people to see. So check it out.
Awesome. Kira Roessler, everybody. Check out her self-titled album, Kira. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Bass Journey.